Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Acfim Talks. My name is Abel Eseru, and I'm going to be today's moderator. We are going to be discussing about commercialized elections and gender-based violence. Before we continue, I would urge all our viewers outside there to subscribe to all our social media platforms. On Facebook, we are Acfim UG. On Twitter, you can follow us as at Acfim UG, and then on YouTube, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is also Acfim UG. Before I proceed, I would like to give you a background on why we chose this topic of commercialized elections and gender-based violence. We all know that in the quest for gender equality, it feels like every step forward is followed by two steps backward. Because according to UN Women, more than 70% of women and girls around the world are living in a crisis setting globally and have experienced violence. This violence has been experienced in terms of wars, conflict, food insecurity, global pandemics, and commercialized elective politics are some of the things that are worsening violence against women and girls. And violence against women and girls often goes unreported, silenced by stigma, shame, and fear of perpetrators. We all know that without gender equality and respect of women's rights, we shall be creating a big gap that will affect the global political and economic growth. In today's episode, we join the rest of the world in the annual campaign of 16 days of activism against gender based violence. This campaign always begins on the 25th of November every year, which is also the International Day for Elimination of Violence Against Women, and the campaign ran through uh, International Human Rights Day, which is always held every 10th of December. So it's a 16-day advocacy campaign against gender-based violence, and this year's theme is on unity, activism to end violence against women and girls. And today I'm being joined by two gallant ladies who are also politicians, and they are going to share with us most of their experiences and what they think can be done to end gender-based violence, especially in the political context of Uganda, where the political environment is so commercialized, and how women can maneuver through such a political environment without facing issues of gender-based violence. The first guest we have today is Miss Agnes Namaganda, who is a human rights activist, and she's also a member of National Unity Platform, which is the largest political party, opposition political party in Uganda's parliament. And she stood for the primaries of National Unity Platform for the position of Kampala Woman MP. Unfortunately, that she wasn't given the flag, and I know she will be coming tell us why that happened, whether the issues of gender-based violence also on it. She holds a bachelor's degree of or a bachelor's of science degree in education, particularly on physics and mathematics, and she's currently pursuing a master's in public health from Makerere University. She has previously worked as a teacher before joining media as a writer with Monitor Publications Limited. She left journalism to pursue a career in communications and public relations, where she worked in this role with Buganda Land Board and with Makerere University School of Public Health. Miss Agnes Namaganda, you're welcome to Acfim Talks.
Yes, thank you so much, Abel. I don't know whether you're just welcoming me or I should say something. You've not invited me to speak.
I've just first of all introduced to you will speak after. And then we shall also be joined by Miss Ndikwa Bizuena. She is a former aspirant for Ginger City Woman MP on the Uganda People's Congress ticket, which is one of the oldest political parties in Uganda. And it was once in power, 2 times in power, and we hope that Miss Ndikua will tell us whether they still have aspirations of taking over power in the nearby future. She also has an MBA in finance, so she will be able to tell us how she has been raising finances in our politics and whether there was an element of gender-based violence whenever she was trying to raise these campaigns. So I will go straight to the discussion we are going to have. We know that annually there's a campaign on 16 days activism against gender-based violence. How important is this campaign to ensuring that women have equal rights like men? I will start with you, Agnes.
Yes, thank you so much, Abel. And going by before I get into this discussion for 1 or 2 minutes, going by the directive of our principal, His Excellency Kyagulanyi Bobi Wine, Robert, we have been directed to try and raise awareness about in everything that we are doing about the people that have been abducted and are still in prisons. Those people are also the relatives of so many other people. Because remember, National Unity Platform is just a party. All other political parties are just parties, but they have relatives in other parties. They might have relatives in NRM. So as National Unity Platform, we have decided starting yesterday to raise awareness regarding the people who are abducted, people who are in prisons, that they should be released. So I want to start with that and finish with that before I get into gender-based violence. Let all of us raise awareness and make sure that the people who are in prisons, these are fathers, we've seen some of their families, they are stranded, children are not going to school because these people were abducted just for their political freedom. They were supporting a party. Let them be brought either to court and charged. Some of them, we are not sure whether they are dead or alive. We just want them to be brought. Thank you so much, Abdul. That said, you asked a question that sorry, by going back into that, I just need a refresher, just whatever.
I'm asking, every year there's a campaign.
Yes, you were asking about the relevance of celebrating the 16 days of activism. Thank you. So it is extremely relevant, especially regarding the men. Actually, the other day when I was speaking to the person who invited us here, I was requesting that if we can, we need to mobilize mostly men to be the listeners and watchers of these programs, because these men need to be enlightened. You see, what is happening with women engaging in politics is it is rubbing against our cultural fabric. You know that in our culture, men are considered, or they are they are taken to be the heads of families, even heads of just women. You can be walking and then maybe you see a snake and it is the man next to you who will come to beat the snake. You see, the men generally are taken to be protective, whether they are your relatives or they are not your relatives, whether they are your partners or just your brothers, because even in your personal family, when a father passes away, it's one of your brothers. They will not say that let the sister become the heir. Even when the boy is 6 years, he's the one who will come up to become the heir. So they are considered the leaders of families. So, but while we are doing that, we are saying that women should engage in politics, but we are not educating the men to know that actually some of your sisters, some of your wives may engage in politics at some time, and this is how you should prepare for it. So I think that these 16 days of activism are relevant, especially in publicizing gender-based violence among the men and how it affects the women and how it finally affects the men. I think 2 days ago, we were seeing a woman who was speaking harsh words to the child, telling her, your father is doing this, your father is doing this, telling the child about all these things about the father. But why is it happening? It's happening because you could see that this woman is being abused and she's passing on the abuse to the child, because the child is barely 9 years, and then you're telling the child about your marital problems. So you find that the abuse, if there is gender-based violence in a family, or if a woman is being abused, that abuse will be passed on to the children. The children will be rebuked unnecessarily, they will be punished unnecessarily, just because the mother is being abused by the father. So the 16 days of activism are important, and they're supposed to raise awareness among the men. Awareness among the men that it is happening and they should stop it. How it is happening, how it affects the women, how they are not able to contribute to the development of their country. For example, us as politicians, women politicians, when there is gender-based violence directed against us, because maybe of our political aspirations, whether it is from our spouses or from the men out there who say that now you're going to parliament, you're going to become a prostitute, because their experiences may be of women who have gone there and have lost their marriages. That affects us, and it can affect our participation. A woman out there who wants to prove to the world that she's not a prostitute, yet she has the political ability to contribute towards the development of the nation, will not participate because she fears that she's going to be connected to prostitution, which is considered a vice in our society. So she fears to stand for political position. So what we are saying is that while we are educating our girls, Abel, I don't know if you have children or if you have a girl child out there, while we are educating the girls and telling them they are confident, they are bright, they are smart, they are all these things, we should also be preparing the boys to say that, do you see those political positions? Even the girl can go and aspire for it, and it is okay, and you should accept it. And it is not that she has stopped having ovaries and can produce eggs. She can still be a mother, she can still be a wife while being a politician. Independent cases of women who have gone into politics and maybe have, behaved in a certain way should not be related and cast onto all women. So for me, these 16 days of activism, maybe starting next year or some other time, the activism should be done. We should make sure that we have the audience of men in these 16 days of activism, and maybe in the remaining days we should have messages tailored towards men, saying women can also pursue careers in politics the same way they can pursue careers in accounting, because you find that if a woman is pursuing a career in accounting, it is acceptable because it is a low-key career. Maybe if she's pursuing a career as a teacher, it is acceptable. But then there are women also who have passions for leadership, so they can also pursue political positions, and their passions and aspirations are valid and should be respected and should be supported the same way men have learned to support women who are pursuing other careers as nurses, as teachers, as maybe business women. The women politicians also need the support and understanding of their spouses and of the public. They don't need to be violated and abused for having decided to participate in developing this nation. Thank you, Abel.
Thank you so much, Agnes. Now I will go to our next guest. I want to hear from you, Nikwa. What makes you think these 16 days of activism against gender-based violence are important? I'm not getting you. I think you're muted. First, unmute yourself. As you, I'm not getting you clearly because I wanted you to give us your thoughts on why you think the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence are so relevant to the world today, because we are seeing majority of the young girls and women are being abused and violated by some of the community members where they live. So can you share with us why you think this campaign is so relevant?
Very important. Okay. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I think the 16 days are very vital to women of Uganda, particularly because there is a way it will change the mind. It will create a positive image to the public or to the society that also women have a contribution to the society. So if they are there, or if they are going to be there, I think it's going to be a very good thing to young girls and ladies out there. Then another thing, I think these 16 days are very vital because they will, in essence, removing the discrimination between men and women, men and women. So here they will see the positive things about what women can do in the society and what they cannot do. So they remove the discrimination. I think when people get to be educated and know the importance of the of women in the society, it can be very important. Then another thing, I think most of the positions have been occupied by male. So you'll find that maybe, for example, I'll talk about my party. Most of the positions are being occupied by males. So if these 16 days have been there, I think even more women will be given opportunity because they can also show and out can be highlighted and know their value in the parties.
Thank you so much. Now I'm going to go to the theme, the main theme we are discussing about, that's commercialized election and gender-based violence. You know that in Uganda today, politics has become highly so commercialized, whereby if a woman or a man wants to join politics, they need to have large sums of money. I want to know from you, are all politicians and vying for positions in the 2026, I mean the 2021 elections, but through your various political parties? I know some of you might have not been given flags and you never proceeded, or but prior to getting the flag, I know you went through the hurdle of raising resources. Can you give us a correlation, whether there is a correlation between commercialized politics and gender-based violence in Uganda, in the context of Uganda? I will start with you, Agnes.
Yes, thank you so much, Abel and Madame Zuena, and all our listeners and those who are watching us. Yes, politics has taken a sudden turn of events, mostly because the people who engage in it in this sense think that when they go to parliament, they will be able to earn from it. And the people who engage in the commercialization of politics, or the ones that heavily invest in politics money-wise, are hoping to go to parliament and they are able to recoup their investment in politics. And this not only affects politics as a vocation, it also creates a bad image before the public, because once these people get to parliament, they concentrate on making sure they have a return on their investment. For example, if someone invested 500 million, in the next 5 years, they may not even participate in activities in their in their constituencies or from the voters that sent them there, because they will be concentrating on trying to make sure they maximize as much and if they borrowed money, they are trying to repay the loans that they borrowed, or they are trying to if they sold a house, they are trying to save up and replace the house. So I would say that commercialization of politics does not only, before I get to how it affects gender-based violence, it affects service delivery. Because it is the people with money that will, there is need for a lot of money to print posters, to do PR, to have talk shows, to be seen, to be working as in the run-up to the elections. So the people who have the money are able to invest, and the people who do not have money, very few of them who do not have money have the confidence, because you will see your opponent's posters all over the city, and even the confidence will go just by looking at these posters. And for you have no poster, but you think you have the confidence and you have the ability to deliver on behalf of your constituency. So you find that those ones who have the confidence also end up trying to look for ways to get that money. So when they get this money, remember, they get it maybe from loan sharks, or you sell your father's house or something. You tell your father, I'm going to replace it. You see? So the commercialization of politics finally affects service delivery, because these politicians, instead of concentrating on the bills that are in parliament, because now they tell you that they try to enter parliament in cars that have dark, windows, so that they are not seen. They do not want loan sharks to see them, the people they borrowed money from, to invest in politics. So it completely affects service delivery. Some of them want to go to parliament to debate, maybe there is something, but they cannot because they fear that loan sharks are going to find them there, or constituents, or people they borrowed from money. So the commercialization of politics totally affects politics as a career, but it also affects service delivery. People are expected to be in parliament. They cannot go to parliament because they are fearing loan sharks. They are fearing to be seen by constituents who lent them money, or or the whole thing of constituents wanting money. You fear that they are going to ask you for money because you promised them all these things, promised them a road, promised them this. So you're not able to even go and debate freely. You cannot pick calls. By not picking calls, you fail to pick good calls that are calling you to participate in events that are beneficial for your community, because you're fearing that maybe it's one of your constituents calling. So I would say that definitely.
How does that, how does commercialized, could you help us connect commercialized politics or elections and gender-based violence?
Yes, that's where I was going. So now with gender-based violence, we know that we live in a patriarchal society. And by patriarchy, it means that men have, in most cases, if you look, yes, women are starting to also earn as much as men, but I'll give my personal experience. We go through school together. For example, you Abel, you're a student, and then there's also some other girl who you meet later as a wife. She's also smart, she can talk, she can become a leader. But what happens is that the reason why men usually have more money than women is that I'll tell you as an example that I gave birth to 4 children in 10 years. So by giving birth to 4 children in 10 years, while I'm working, I'm not as career driven as my husband, who does not get morning sickness, who does not go to the labor ward, who is not weighed down by the demands of pregnancy. Because women, as a gender, are the producing part of the family. We are the ones that manufacture the babies, that do the nurturing. So you do not move as, you may not, if you do not have a well-supported working environment, you do not move as fast in your career as a man. A man has all the time to concentrate on work. And that means that by concentrating at work and not being the person that gives birth and nurtures the family, they end up having more money. Because you leave school together, maybe you even have a better degree, or you're even performing better in school than he was. But then when you get married, or when you get a spouse, when you enter that part of family life, men tend to move faster because they have time for you while you're feeling sleepy, while you want to rest more, while you're breastfeeding. For him, he can have a job and then also run a business. So men tend to have more money in families, and that is a given. We know that. So when the man has more money, because of that downside that women usually have when it comes to having families. If you have a woman who now wants to participate in politics, in most of these patriarchal families, the man has the money, or is in charge of the finances, or makes the decisions. You may be a woman who has money, yes, but the man even threatens you with losing the marriage if you try to participate in politics. So you have to go very slowly, especially if the man is not interested. We have all these stories, like I said in the beginning, of women politicians, and maybe the habits that the public has had they did. I want to tell you that even the men in parliament also do those habits. Many, they also engage in, extramarital affairs and etc. But you will not find another wife cautioning the man that if you join politics, I'm going to get a divorce. Yet we know that there are so many stories of men who go to parliament and behave in a certain way. But when you're a woman, and that man that you have has ever had that women in parliament maybe got a divorce, maybe they are not caring about the husband, the man will try to make you drop your aspirations because of that. So what I'm saying is that is where the violence starts, because the violence is not only physical, it can be verbal. Verbal in that I'm trying to pursue a career. I think I have a passion and I think I want to make a development towards my nation. But then I have this man telling me I'm going to lose the marriage, or I should leave the marriage, or why am I doing this to the family, or I'm going to become a prostitute, or I'm not interested in the family. Yet I'm interested, but just because I have aspirations of being a woman politician, I end up getting that kind of abuse, getting violence directed against me, gender-based violence. So I would say that because the women need that money, and I would want to give my experience because I'm not ashamed to share my experience because it was in the media anyway. So I'm not ashamed about it, and it is what it is. While I was trying to stand to get into politics, to make a mark, to make an entry into, to start my political career, I had very many challenges with my spouse, and the challenges stemmed from supporting a political party that has hooligans, apparently, that has hooligans. People are not looking at why these hooligans are behaving like hooligans, because these people, maybe they have needs. They're not looking at it from that angle, but they're looking at it from the angle of, you're an uneducated person, you're a smart person, why are you joining? Maybe you join this party, yet I have my aspirations, and there is a way I would want to achieve them. And there are people I haven't identified who can help me achieve those aspirations, people I think I can work with to take this country forward. So you find that because this person is in charge of family finances, I was personally cut off from family finances, cut off from the family car. You cannot use the family car to go and participate in what? You cannot bring attire of your party inside the house. But can a woman tell that to a man? So you find that because we are living in a patriarchal society where men have the upper hand in running families, they are considered because he came and paid your bride price, or because he went and visited your parents, and he was told that you're now the king, you have overall charge, you reign overall, you're supposed to make decisions in this family. You're not even heard. Men do not give, some men, I'm not going to say all, some men do not allow women to pursue their dreams, their careers, because they make the final decision. You never find that happen. You rarely find that happening in a woman doing the same thing to a man. So I'm saying that the commercialization of politics usually comes because you need the money. Your friends have posters. Me, I didn't have even one poster in the city. And you know what? It's because I was cut off from family finances. And yet I'm seeing, because even the posters are important, yes, but you find that because you're experiencing violence at home, you've been cut off from money, from finances, you've been threatened with losing your children. I was telling Lisa the other day, who invited me for this talk, that it is 2 years now. I don't have access to my children. I lost custody. You see, like I was just shut out from accessing my children. I'm in court trying to gain fair access to my children. But those are some of the. But why did that happen? It happened because someone thinks they have the upper hand. So you experience a lot of gender. It's a lot of violence, by the way, for a woman not to be able to access her children. It is the worst form of violence. But it is happening because you decided to pursue a political career. So you're cut off from finances, and the finances, you need them for you to be able to take your campaign forward. So I would say that even as we are looking at commercialization of politics and gender-based violence, we need to also look in the aspect of educating men about the effects of gender-based violence and about the benefits of supporting their women, because those women are not just going to help their children and their family. The women are going to help the country at large, and to also teach them that the few experiences of women out there who have gone in politics and become whatever they have become on their spouses or on girls who want to pursue political careers. I think gender-based, in these 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, we need to be educating men. We need to focus on men. We need to help men, because the men also can't help themselves. Most of them have been culturally inclined. That's how they were brought up, that they're supposed to be decision makers. They're supposed to be protect their families. So he thinks he's protecting you and he's protecting family finances, because he's thinking also that if you take this money and you participate in elections and you fail, how will the children go to school? Yeah? So he cuts you off family business, and you also trying to understand where he's coming from, because you're like, yes, for me, for example, we had a poultry business. So you're going to get that money, you're going to print posters, you're going to do, you want to do some media activities, you want to go and visit your people, your voters. Then for him, he's thinking about the children, he's thinking about protecting them, he's thinking about, but then men need to realize that they need to support their women. There needs to be a discussion. There needs to be a discussion on how you can support your spouse, because this spouse also has valid aspirations. They need support. So you cannot only support an accountant and a nurse and a teacher. You also need to support a woman, your wife, if she decides to have political aspirations. It's very important, and the support also includes money. So I'm saying that yes, it is true that a lot of money is invested in politics by many politicians who now make it expensive for those who don't have money to participate. But at the same time, in relation to gender-based violence, the men need to be educated that when it comes to some little support, at least if you're not supporting the person financially, keep quiet. Don't become also a verbal, you're becoming a problem. You're not supporting them financially. At the same time, you're not even, you're damaging them verbally. So that should also stop. The men need to be educated. The gender-based violence messages need to have an audience of men. There needs to be an organization or that comes out. Maybe Acfim. You could have that angle. When we are discussing politics, especially when it comes to women, we need a lot of support from organizations like Acfim, but we also need you as women politicians to have an arm or to have something, I don't know what you call it when you're in organizations, to have something of a subunit that focuses on men to help them appreciate, understand, and accept women who engage in politics. Because at the end of the day, their contributions in parliament or in governance or in politics are going to help the whole nation and not just your family. Thank you so much, Abel.
Thank you, Agnes. We are going to go for a brief break, then we shall return. I will start with you, Bizuena.
Hey,
Why are you running?
that sounds so crap.
When are you leaving my house?
I think just give me 1 month. Huh? Just 1 month. I strategize and when I'm able to relocate my family.
Right. I have given you more than enough time. So your problem is relocating your family.
No, I need to relocate them, but also, of course, more time.
That
The
can
idea
be-
is
that can
give
be
me more
handled.
time.
That should be enough to settle you down.
Anyway, thank you.
What is he doing in my home?
I own this place now. Madam, you have 3 days to vacate.
What is the meaning of this, Nathan?
I'm sorry, Beatrice. I've sold this house.
Without my consent? I'll fight this madness.
No, Beatrice, please. Beatrice, please, Beatrice. That man is very connected. He's very powerful. Please, let's not go there. Besides, he has given me a check. We can start from here. We can really start from here.
But why? Why would you do such a thing?
Beatrice, I had politics, campaigns. I needed a lot of money to remain in the race.
You borrowed money from this money lender to run campaigns? Didn't I warn you from taking such a move?
We are unnecessary.
This doesn't concern you.
But I needed to save our parliamentary seat.
But you still lost. However much we invested.
I'll start from here.
We are worthy 5 million? Only?
Hey, Beatrice, man. In politics, you fall and rise. You can lose an election.
So you believe you will raise again?
Yes, I can win again and become a parliamentarian and put my life back together. Would you write another one? Hey, Beatrice! Please, Beatrice! Please don't leave me.
Leaders like these are highly susceptible for political corruption and will not be service delivery oriented.
Contribute today at www.politicalfinanceafrica.org/donate.
Welcome back from that break. We are discussing about commercialized elections and gender-based violence as part of our contributions towards the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. Before we went for a break, Honorable Agnes was sharing her experience on how commercialized elections and gender-based violence are connected. And as after the break we were sharing, we show you, all of you watched that video and you saw what happened. A man goes, sells, auctions the house without even the consent of the lady, and only to see a moneylender comes, he wants to take over the house. And we have seen such things happening in most of the societies we have been as people have been monitoring money in politics. And this is one of the triggers of gender-based violence because now men do not want to be asked on why they are taking certain decisions. They feel like they are the owners of the house, so they can take decisions. So if a woman starts asking such questions, some of them end up being assaulted and chased away from the house. So I want now to bring Ms. Wena on here. You have just listened to our other sister Agnes share her experience on how the commercialized environment of our politics is one of the triggers to gender-based violence. And we know that most of the women and other politicians have capacity gaps when it comes to raising and also managing funds because they have limited sources of financing. So how do you how have women in your own spaces managed to overcome gender-based violence in a commercialized environment like Uganda, and also what are some of the violent acts they are faced when they are trying to raise campaign funds?
Uh, I'll talk about different religious and cultural practices around. When a woman goes into politics, most times they will have that negative side of, for example, culturally or religious. They'll look at you as somebody who cannot serve, who has not the capability to rule. So I think our people need to be educated religiously and tells them that a woman, no matter the religion she is, she can do certain things. Same with culture. You'll find that some of the cultural norms are very strong. A woman cannot do this, a woman cannot do this. So if these 16 days activism are put aside to educate people, to educate cultural readers, that also a woman has the capacity to do what another person or a man can do, I think that will create a positive responsibility. Then another thing I'll talk about the how the political parties because I'll talk about the electoral campaigns distinguishes between men and women. So electoral campaigns, they tend to give more money to men than women. Reason being, they think men have a lot of security, like in terms of giving back the money, and women lack security. So when for example you are going to ask for money, they'll ask you, what do you have? Like for example, if you have a building, you are going to ask for a security, like I need certain amount. They may think a property belongs to a man, so they will not give you. They may think you cannot own anything, so they tend to discriminate in that way. So I think also that one should be looked into it. Then another thing, sometimes men also finance women in politics, but they need something in return, because some person will invest in you, maybe wanting sex in return. So those are the challenges women face in politics. I think also this one should be addressed and talked about. So, and we need to bring more women on board. So if more political parties can do a lot of recruitment and educate that politics has no arm to a woman, and we have more women on board, I think also that one will work better.
Thank you, Busy. When
Thank-
I want to bring Agnes, there's this sickness which is among most of the political parties, and Sometimes even the women themselves and some other political party men fear to talk about it. And that is about sexualization of politics. And it is like Bizwen has raised it. Whenever women are trying to maybe raise campaign fund, someone who wants to maybe support you wants something in return. And most of the times they want to have sex with the woman. Why are we having this kind of problem, and what do you think needs to be done to address this so that we can have more women participate in politics? Because the statistics we have so far from the Electoral Commission on women who participated out of the 38,253 candidates who, applied, who were nominated to compete with men on open seats, only 950 were women. That is like 2.5% of the nominated candidates. And you see that it's already a very big problem. And one of the reasons when we're interacting with many women was sexualization of politics. Because when each time they want to go and raise campaigns, most of the people, especially men who want to give them money, ask for sex in return. So why is it a cancer in most of our political parties and our society? And what do you think should be done to solve it, Agnes?
Yes, thank you, Abel. Sorry, but I might have a different take a bit on that sexualization of politics. Women who participate in politics are usually very confident people, very confident, very smart, very high achievers. Politics is not for the faint-hearted, really. So these women are really ambitious women. So with ambition, I've read about, I've read a bit about people who are ambitious. They are not only ambitious in those areas, maybe in career, they would also want to get good sex. For me, that's what I've read. So you will find that they'll, to get ahead, yes, they may also want to engage at that level, because we have so many stories that come from parliament about women politicians engaging in these kinds of things. But I don't think that it happens in politics alone, the sexualization. I think it happens in various organizations. For me, wherever I have worked, there are men who need sex to be able to give you a favor, and it is now up to you, the woman, either to give in or not to give in. So of course, the weak-hearted or the ones that feel they need the favor so much will give in, because it will be put there as a demand. Because the men are always looking to have sex. Men are very sexual beings. That's what I would think. Anyway, that's my take, Abel. Men are very sexual beings. When they see a woman who is smart, who is beautiful, who is young, they will ask. Even the boda man who brings you to work will ask, can you give me some? But it is up to you now because now there is something that you want to achieve. You may give in because you're really passionate and you really want to, you're ambitious and you want to achieve this. So you will give in. But I would say for me that it is a moral issue, because that woman who thinks this is not her level, who thinks she does not have anything to give, will refuse, because it happens in all companies, whether it is in the banks, people working in banks, people working in accounting, men who are above you are always using that to ask for sexual favors so that they can either put in a word for you or promote you, or so it is up. So maybe what I would think is to maybe empower our women, because this thing happens right from the girl child. You know that we have a lot of teenage pregnancies, but teenage pregnancies come from that very issue, that the girl is promised maybe sanitary towels. There are girls who are promised sanitary towels because it's a very basic need, and they do not give in. They are promised maybe a dress or money or something, and they don't give in. But then there are girls who give in. So it is on how you train your girl about accepting sexual favors, about being asked for sex in return for something, and how she should respond and why she should respond like that and what she has at stake. But I want to say that some of these women, they enjoy it. Some women enjoy sleeping with influential men. Like it is what do they say? It's a badge of honor that maybe she, for example, slept with the president, like she's, a concubine or something, or she had something to do. Of course, sometimes she may not like it, but give in. But the challenge she's facing is being faced by all other women. And for me, I take it that the men will always have those desires, and because they have the desire for you, they approach you. They have not raped you. So as long as they have not raped you, you gave in because you also had something you have in mind. Like I said, I'm doing an MPH, and the paper that I'm looking at, one of the papers that I was critiquing for my research, is called Eat and You'll Be Eaten. It means that when you're eating this man's things, you just know that you're also going to be what? You're going to be eaten, because you cannot be eating yet they cannot eat you. So yes, the men have a larger access to finances, and because they have a higher access to finances, they are patriarchal. You will find that, like I said, Abel, at the beginning, this man has inherited his father's buildings. So you are the same age, but he's richer. For you, you cannot be an heir to your father. So men are generally more empowered financially. They have money. So these men have money, and they see you campaigning, they see you struggling. They say, I'll give you a car, you see, but then you have to give me something. So it is really up to you to whether you'll give in to this car that he wants to give you, whether you give in to this support that he wants to give you in exchange for what he wants, or you refuse. So I would want to say that this sexualization is coming all the way from our teenage girls. That's how we are experiencing a lot of teenage pregnancies. Yes, the women have this challenge, but women need to be empowered. Maybe again, I'll ask Acfim to have some, I want to say, a budget line or something like that they can use if you noticed that there is a lot of sexualization. Because I must tell you, Abel, that the women who engage in politics suffer a lot of violence, not at the expense of their spouses alone, but also from society. Society thinks you're a prostitute. Society thinks you want to go and sell yourself. Society views you as someone who is greedy. They views you as someone willing to lose your marriage. They view you as someone who is not a family woman. How do you go into politics? Those politicians are not family people. They are bad mothers. They are always busy. They are always flying abroad. Etc. So they brand you badly. It is the reason why you're seeing that the percentage of women who stand on those open seats and get nominated are very, very few, and it can even reduce lower, because all those things break women. Women are very tender. Women are very soft. Women love their marriages a lot, and I would want to bring that out very, very strongly. Unless it is a very big thing, women want their marriages. By the time a woman has decided to come and get married to you, she wants you, and she wants that marriage to work. You just threaten her a little like this, she will give up her aspirations in order to keep the marriage. So we have women if you go to school, you will find that in that secondary school or in that primary school, girls are leading in class equally like boys. But when it comes to politics, what happens? How come they're not willing to offer themselves up for leadership positions? It's because we live in a patriarchal society. We live in a commercialized society. Elections are so commercialized. You need a lot of finances. You don't have even emotional support, also psychosocial support from the man. So without psychosocial support, without financial support, with all the remarks being made by the general public against women who participate in politics and how they are prostitutes, very few women are going to participate. The few of us who are participating, Acfim, again, you need a budget line to support us. Abel, I hope you can pass that on to the leadership of us.
We are already pursuing some of the proposals, and we are looking at how we want to train women on how to raise funds and also manage campaign finance, and also state political parties on allocating more money to women leagues and youth leagues, because they are mainly affected. So we are now, I want to come to this winner. You've just listened to share her experience, and she's now among one of the persons we have spoken to, and share the experience on how men sometimes confiscate things, family things, and also sometimes if a woman is in politics and she's in leadership positions, for example, if all of you now maybe were in parliament, some of your men will decide to confiscate your credit cards and also go and acquire loans in your names and refuse to pay and end up blackmailing you. And they don't give you that emotional and psychosocial support you need, because now it's upon you. You are in politics and you know that you're in things. So it's upon you to solve that.
Yes.
How common and how big is the problem?
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I'm going to talk about that, talking about the media, how it portrays women also publicly. When a woman achieves, most times politically, they will not talk about. They will wait until that woman is in the certain corner. Then they'll start coming out and say, this person has done a certain things and this, portraying women being weak. That is the media. So I think the media also should come out and sensitize, not talking about the weakness of the women. They should talk about the strength of a woman. And then another thing, I think we need to get like maybe leagues, like the way women have leagues, and also we have men leagues to aid these women. We talk about those men who have women already in politics. If we have this men league, we could teach them that, a man is supposed to do like this, behave like this. I think also they play a very important role in grooming men and knowing the importance of women in the society as well.
Thank you. Our time is fast spent, so I am going to give each of you around 3 minutes to share with us what you think women and girls need to do to push back against gender-based violence, which is being driven by commercialized politics and other societal factors, and also your concluding remarks. I will start with you, Bizwen, and then I will go lastly to Agnes.
Okay. Me, what I think the discrimination between women in politics should be eliminated. They should also treat us equally because we can also perform. I think the discrimination should be put aside. Then I think political parties should put forward to put more women candidates because they are there who have the ability to run and to candidate themselves to stand. So if the political parties like put forward more women and stand for for politics, I think that one will be an addition. Then another thing, the change in political structures, how some political structures are being made, like they give more positions to men than women. I think if they can divide and make it maybe equally 50-50, also that one makes it promotes a woman. Then I also another thing, media should come out and sensitize and tell people that women are equally doing better than also doing better or more than the men. So media should also place that importance. Then another thing, women should be empowered through financially. For I see my father has a budget and how we are going to get the money. So I think it should more women should be empowered. Organizations should help women in circumstances. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bizwena, for being with us, and it has been a pleasure being with you. We hope to host you sometime again. Now I'll go to Agnes.
Abel, I just wanted to make sure that I've understood your question well. You said, how can women and girls push back against gender-based violence and discrimination in politics? Is that it?
Yes, which is being driven by commercialized elections and also other societal factors.
Yes, I would think that first of all, women should empower themselves financially, just like we keep saying that teenage girls should empower themselves financially in order not to become, in order not to fall into the traps of men who want to use them and then get them pregnant and dump them. We've been saying that first of all, these girls should be empowered financially. So women politicians, once you start having aspirations, or you may not even know that in future you will have aspirations. Generally, women should empower themselves financially as women so that they are able to stand on their own. For example, if you're acquiring property, you should make sure that property is registered in both your names so that in case you need that money, you're not constrained, you're not prevented from accessing family finances just because you are a woman. Because if that husband of yours also wanted to stand for politics, he would go and utilize family finances as well to be able to fulfill his aspirations. So women should make sure that they acquire property not just in their names, but if they acquire family property, it should be registered in both names. I think that would be one of the ways of making sure they are not affected financially when they decide to engage in politics. Number two, against gender-based violence, women should learn to use platforms that can address gender-based violence when they are facing it. For example, personally, like I was telling you, I was able to go to FIDA, but you need to go outside FIDA. You need to have other women's networks that you're affiliated to when you decide to engage, for example, in politics. Start making friends. Start joining networks of women in politics. For example, there is the Network of Women in Politics by Lillian Babidi, who is the executive director. If you're planning to participate in politics, come and become a member of NOWIP and start getting the support and the contacts that you need in case you need some help and you need some support. Even Acfim here, you guys are dealing in. These are people that you can contact and that can connect you in case you have any challenge with your political aspirations. So you also talked about the discrimination in politics of women, the women who are not participating as actively as they should in politics in all these different positions that are open to them. For that, I would say, remember, we have a lot of organizations that are working to empower women with different skills, leadership skills, etc. But somehow, I don't know whether their efforts are not being reflected, for example, in the women that are getting nominated, or that their efforts end in a certain place. I think that it's you, Abel, and your organization, Acfim, that should be having an arm that specifically handles women to be able, you said you're going to be holding workshops, yes, so that they're able to aspire for these positions. So for them not to be discriminated, you know, when you're standing against a man, you already feel inferior because these men can do so many things. For example, even while I was participating in politics, I had to be home by a certain time because I know I have young children and I have a marriage, and the spouse expects me at home by a certain time. So, but if this man had the same aspirations, he would be able to travel as and when he pleases, you see, to be able to, you know, participate. So that some of those things discriminate, because you realize that at least if you go for a woman's seat, that same woman is also facing the same challenges you're facing. She also has babies, so she has to, you know, she doesn't have a lot of time. But if you go for a man's seat, you know that this man is going to be more, because when you wake up in the morning, you have to make sure the children have juice, the food is ready. But this man just wakes up and walks out. He can even decide to sleep in a hotel so that he doesn't have family disturbances and is able to meet his constituents even in the night, meet his campaign managers. But you do not have that freedom because you have a 2-year-old who is still breastfeeding, because you have to plan for the family in the morning. Then you have to arrive early to make sure that the baby is again breastfed, that the family is moving on well. So you have all these challenges as a woman. So you will find that a woman will already feel disadvantaged to stand on this seat, for this seat where other men can stand, yet she is a woman. So she has these challenges as a woman. So I would say that how can women push back against discrimination in politics? First of all, it's with support from you, the men. We need Acfim and other organizations that are dealing in political leadership to educate our men to support the women more. For example, you rarely find a man who will, me and my other in-laws, we're wondering, how is she going to manage the family when she's participating in politics? Already you're standing on a woman's position, but they are wondering. So society has been conditioned to think that women are going to lose. So already you have that discouragement, you have that negative energy, even coming from immediate family, outside the public. For women to push back, it will depend on the support that we are getting from family, from organizations like yours, and from other women's organizations. So I would like organizations like Acfim to support women, to also support the public to support women. You support the public to support the women, to encourage the women to go for these positions. You rarely find a spouse telling the wife, why don't you go for that position? I think you can go for it. Why don't you aspire? Such a woman cannot fail, or even if she fails, she'll be well supported, both psychologically, financially, because it's the man pushing. So we need to encourage these women, these men, our men and our families, to push more women whom they think have leadership potential and can serve to develop a nation towards these positions. Me, I've seen girls, And I'm seeing these girls in national media platform, they are very active, but you tell them to go and stand a political position. They will not. They will fear. Yet they are very outspoken. They have good ideas. You feel they have the energy that is needed to cause the change that we want to see. But they will only be on Facebook. That's the best they can do. So you realize that for us to stand for these positions, we need the support and the encouragement of both men, families, and society. Society should encourage more women in these positions because it benefits the nation when women are in these positions.
Thank you so much, Agnes Namaganda and Bizwena, for joining us on today's edition of Acfim Talks as we are trying to run a campaign of 16 days against gender-based violence, and this campaign continues running until the 10th of December, and we shall keep on carrying on the messages and educating people and carrying awareness about why we should ensure that there is gender equality and parity in whatever we do in society, and we should not discriminate against women and young girls because we need to unite and fight gender-based violence as we fight for other injustices that affect both also the young men and men in society. So we need to work together hand in hand to end the injustices against women in society and the world at large. Thank you. From my side, my name is Abel Eseru. Let's keep in touch and let's keep tuned to all Acfim social media platforms until we meet again next week on Friday, same time,